The vast emptiness of space held secrets that few beings could understand. In the dark void between the stars, something ancient stirred. The Keeper ship moved slowly through the blackness, its hull scarred by millions of years of travel. Inside, the last of their kind prepared to send one final message. Elder Zefthal touched the communication console with trembling fingers. His race had watched the galaxy grow and change for longer than most civilizations could remember. They had seen empires rise and fall like waves on a distant shore. Now, as his people faded into history, he felt the need to give one last warning. The message traveled across the galaxy in seconds. It reached the great capital world of the Zelfarian Empire, where golden towers stretched up toward the purple sky. In the highest tower, Admiral Vexstar sat in his command chair, reviewing reports from across their vast territory. The Empire controlled over 40,000 star systems, and each day brought news of new victories. When the strange signal arrived, it puzzled the communication officers. The message was old, using codes that had not been seen for thousands of years. They brought it to Admiral Vexstar, who looked at the ancient text with growing annoyance. "Beware the young species in the third spiral arm," the message read. "They call themselves humans. Do not seek war with them. They are not like other races. They are children of chaos, born from a world of endless struggle. When cornered, they become most dangerous. They turn defeat into victory through madness that looks like strategy. This is our final warning to you." Admiral Vexstar laughed, a sound like grinding metal. His red eyes glowed with amusement as he showed the message. To his officers, "The Keepers send us warnings about primitives. These humans have barely left their home system. Our scouts report they have fewer than 20 ships total." Captain Yelmar, his second in command, studied the message more carefully. "Sir, the Keepers were wise. They watched the galaxy for millions of years. Perhaps we should listen. Listen to fears about a species that still uses chemical rockets?" Vexstar stood up, his massive form casting shadows across the command center. The Keepers grew weak and scared. That is why they hide in the void while we rule the galaxy. Delete this message. I do not want to hear about it again. Far away, in a small solar system that most galactic maps did not even show, Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Liberty. The human ship was tiny compared to the great vessels of other spacefaring races, but it was fast and well built. Jake had been exploring the outer edges of human space for 3 months, looking for new planets that his people might call home. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange," said Lieutenant Pete Garcia from his position at the sensor station. "There's a ship out there, but it's not like anything in our database." Jake moved to look over Pete's shoulder at the sensor display. The readings showed a vessel that was at least 10 times larger than the Liberty. Its design was completely alien, with curved surfaces that seemed to bend light around them. "Are they scanning us?" Jake asked. "Yes, sir. They're using technology I've never seen before. Their sensors are incredibly advanced." Commander Lisa Hayes, the ship's tactical officer, checked her weapons display. "Captain, if they wanted to hurt us, they could have done it already. That ship has enough firepower to destroy a small moon." Jake made his decision quickly. "Open a communication channel. Let's see who our new neighbors are." The main screen flickered to life, showing the bridge of the alien vessel. The creature that appeared was tall and thin, with red eyes and skin that looked like polished stone. When it spoke, the universal translator worked hard to make sense of its words. "I am Sub-Admiral Krullenach of the Zelfarian Empire. You will identify yourselves immediately." Jake stepped forward, trying to appear calm despite the fear growing in his chest. "I'm Captain Jake Morrison of the United Earthship Liberty. We come in peace, seeking friendship with other intelligent species." Kralanak's eyes narrowed as he studied the humans. We have heard rumors of your kind. You are new to space travel, yes? Your ships are primitive, your weapons weak. We're explorers, not warriors, Jake replied. We'd like to establish diplomatic relations with your empire. The alien admiral made a sound that might have been laughter. Diplomatic relations? You speak as if you have a choice in the matter. The Zeltharian Empire does not negotiate with primitives. You will surrender your ship and submit to imperial law. Lisa stepped up beside Jake, her hand moving to her sidearm. Captain, they're powering up weapons. Jake raised his hand, signaling her to wait. Sub-Admiral, we have no intention of surrendering. We're peaceful explorers from Earth. Surely we can work something out. Kralanek's expression grew cold. Earth. Yes, we know of your little world. The Empire has decided that your species will be absorbed into our civilization. You will serve us as is proper for a weak race meeting a strong one. And if we refuse? Jake asked, though he already knew the answer. Then you will be pacified. The Empire has destroyed civilizations far greater than yours. Your primitive ships and simple weapons cannot stand against our might. Kralanek leaned forward on his command chair. I will give your people one of your solar cycles to consider surrender. After that, our fleets will come, and resistance will be met with destruction. The communication ended, leaving the Liberty's bridge in silence. Jake looked around at his crew, seeing fear and determination in equal measure on their faces. Sir, what are we going to do? Pete asked. Jake walked to the main window, staring out at the stars that suddenly seemed much less friendly. We're going to go home and warn Earth. If this Empire wants a fight, they're about to learn something important about humans. Lisa checked her weapon systems one more time. What's that, sir? Jake turned back to his crew with a grim smile. That we don't know how to quit. The Liberty turned toward Earth, its engines pushing it faster than ever before. Behind them, the alien ship watched until they disappeared into hyperspace, carrying news that would change everything. Neither species knew it yet, but they had just taken the first steps toward a war that would shake the galaxy itself. The great throne room of the Zeltharian Empire stretched out like a golden canyon. Emperor Zolfek sat on his massive chair, carved from a single piece of rare crystal that had cost the lives of 1,000 slaves to mine. Around him, the High Council gathered in their finest robes, ready to discuss the Empire's next conquest. Admiral Vextar stood before the Emperor, his report ready. My lord, we have made contact with the species called humans. They are as weak as our intelligence suggested. Their largest ship is smaller than our smallest fighter craft. Emperor Zolfik's 4 arms moved in a gesture of boredom. How many worlds do they control? Barely a dozen, my emperor. Their entire fleet consists of perhaps 200 ships, all armed with primitive weapons. General Morjeff estimates we can pacify them in less than 3 standard weeks. General Morjeff stepped forward, his scarred face showing the confidence of someone who had never lost a battle. My lord, I have conquered 47 species for the Empire. These humans are the weakest I have ever encountered. They use fusion engines and kinetic weapons. It would be embarrassing to use our full military might against such primitives. The Emperor's laugh echoed through the throne room. Then we shall make it a training exercise for our newer officers. Send the 12th Fleet. Let Admiral Kexler earn his command stars against these humans. Back on Earth, the mood was far different. President Helen Carter sat at the head of a long table in the emergency session room beneath the White House. Around her, the leaders of humanity's military and scientific communities wore grim expressions as they studied the data Captain Morrison had brought back. Ladies and gentlemen, President Carter said, we're facing a crisis unlike anything in human history. Colonel Walsh, please give us your assessment. Colonel Ryan Walsh stood up, activating a holographic display that showed the size difference between human and Zeltharian ships. The situation is not good. Our entire space fleet has maybe 200 ships. Intelligence suggests the Zeltharian Empire has over 50,000 vessels, each one more advanced than our best. Dr. Amy Foster, the chief scientist for the Space Defense Program, looked up from her tablet. I've been analyzing the alien communications that Captain Morrison recorded. What's interesting is that every conversation follows the same pattern. They demand surrender, then express shock when it's refused. What does that tell us? Asked General Patricia Stone, the head of Earth's military forces. It tells us they've never fought anyone who didn't give up immediately, Dr. Foster replied. Every species they've encountered has surrendered the moment they saw the Empire's superior technology. President Carter leaned forward. Are you saying they don't know how to fight a real war? I'm saying they've never had to, Dr. Foster answered. Their entire military seems designed for intimidation rather than actual combat. Colonel Walsh pulled up another display. That may be true, but intimidation works when you have overwhelming force. A single Zeltharian battleship has more firepower than our entire fleet. In space, near the orbit of Jupiter, the first test of human determination was about to begin. Captain Ben Taylor commanded a small squadron of 5 ships, the fastest and most maneuverable vessels in the human fleet. They had volunteered for this mission, knowing they probably would not return. Contact bearing 27 Mark IV, announced Lieutenant Sarah Kim from the sensor station. It's a big one, Captain. Definitely Zeltharian. Captain Taylor looked at the tactical display. The alien ship was massive, easily the size of a small city. Around it, smaller vessels moved in perfect formation. How many total? 12 ships, sir. They're moving straight toward the Jupiter mining stations. Taylor opened a channel to his squadron. All ships, this is Eagle Leader. You know the plan. Hit fast, hit hard, then get out. We're not trying to win this fight, just showing them we won't roll over. The human ships accelerated toward the alien formation, their engines pushed to maximum power. The Zeltharian commander, Captain Corfield, watched the approaching vessels with amusement. Sir, the primitive ships are approaching, his tactical officer reported. Should we destroy them? Not yet, Corthell replied. Let them come closer. I want to study their simple technology before we end this quickly. The human ships split up as they approached, using Jupiter's massive gravity well to slingshot around the gas giant at incredible speed. The Zeltharian sensors, designed for conventional space combat, had trouble tracking the erratic human flight patterns. Sir, they're moving very fast, the tactical officer said, his voice showing the first hint of concern. Impossible. No crew can survive those acceleration forces. But Captain Taylor and his pilots were doing exactly that. Years of training in Earth's high-gravity centrifuges had prepared them for maneuvers that would kill most alien species. They came around Jupiter like bullets, targeting the Zeltharian formation's weak points. The first missiles struck the alien shields, doing little damage, but causing chaos in their ranks. The Zeltharians had expected the humans to approach in orderly formation, making demands and trying to negotiate. Instead, they faced an attack that seemed completely insane. They're not following any recognized combat patterns. The tactical officer shouted. Sir, one of them is on a collision course. Captain Taylor's ship, the UEC Defiance, screamed toward the Zeltharian flagship. At the last second, he rolled the ship and fired all weapons at point-blank range before, disappearing behind Jupiter's radiation belt. The alien shields held, but the psychological impact was devastating. No civilized species had ever attempted such a suicidal attack. Captain Corthul found himself questioning everything he thought he knew about warfare. Sir, should we pursue them into the radiation belt? Corthul hesitated. The radiation around Jupiter would damage his ship's sensitive electronics, but the humans seemed unaffected by it. No, we withdraw and report to Admiral Kexler. These humans ... they fight like madmen. Back on Earth, the news of the Jupiter engagement spread quickly. The human ships had all returned safely, having accomplished their mission of showing the aliens that humanity would not surrender without a fight. Dr. Foster studied the battle recordings with growing excitement. "Look at this," she told President Carter. "When our ships broke their formation, the alien crews panicked. They've never faced an enemy that doesn't follow their rules." Colonel Walsh nodded slowly. "They're used to fighting wars where both sides agree on how the battle should go. We just showed them we don't play by their rules." President Carter stood up, addressing the room with new determination. "Then we need to make sure we never start. Get me Admiral Parker. If the Zeltharians want a war, they're about to learn that humans are very good at breaking rules." In the depths of space, Admiral Kexler received Captain Corthul's report with growing anger. The humans had not surrendered. They had not begged for mercy. Instead, they had attacked like wild animals, using tactics that violated every principle of civilized warfare. He opened a communication channel to Admiral Vextar. "Sir, these humans are not like other species. They fight without honor, without logic. They seem to welcome death in battle." Vextar's response was cold. "Then give them what they welcome, Admiral. Deploy the 7th and 15th fleets as well. I want this human problem ended quickly." As the communication ended, Admiral Kexler stared out at the stars. Somewhere in the distance, a small blue world held creatures that had just declared war on the greatest empire the galaxy had ever known. For the first time in his long military career, he felt something he had never experienced before: fear. The war rooms of Earth had never seen activity like this. In underground bunkers across the planet, military leaders worked around the clock to prepare for the coming storm. The Zeltharian Empire had mobilized 3 entire fleets, over 6,000 ships, all heading toward human space. Admiral Sam Parker stood before a massive holographic display showing the approaching alien forces. His weathered face showed the strain of sleepless nights, but his eyes burned with determination. Around him, his staff officers worked frantically to coordinate humanity's defense. "Status report," Admiral Parker called out. Commander Kate Phillips looked up from her planning table. "Sir, we've implemented the swarm protocol across all shipyards. We're building small, fast attack craft as quickly as possible. Current production rate is 30 ships per day." "Not enough," Parker replied grimly. "At this rate, we'll have maybe 800 ships when they arrive. They're bringing 6,000. Lieutenant Alex Rodriguez stepped forward with a tablet full of data. "Admiral, I've been studying the pilot training reports. Human pilots can handle acceleration forces up to 12 Gs for extended periods. Most alien species can barely tolerate 6 Gs. Dr. Lisa Chun entered the war room, her face flushed with excitement. "Admiral, I think I know why humans are different. I've been studying our evolutionary history compared to other species." Parker turned to the scientist. "Explain." "Most intelligent species evolved on stable worlds, sir. Gentle climates, predictable seasons, few natural disasters. Humans evolved on a planet that tried to kill us every few thousand years. Ice ages, volcanic eruptions, asteroid impacts, massive climate changes. We survived because we learned to adapt quickly and never give up." Commander Phillips nodded thoughtfully. "That explains why we keep innovating even during battles. Other species plan everything in advance, but we improvise. The conversation was interrupted by an urgent communication from the outer colonies. Admiral Parker, this is Captain Danny Clark at Alpha Centauri. Long-range sensors are picking up the alien fleets. They'll be here in 48 hours. Parker opened the channel to all human ships and colonies. All stations, this is Admiral Parker. Operation Last Stand is now in effect. Remember, we're not just fighting for Earth. We're fighting for the right of humanity to exist as a free species. In the cold depths of space, Admiral Vextar observed the approaching battle from his flagship, the massive dreadnought Eternal Dominion. The ship was 3 kilometers long and carried enough firepower to destroy planets. Around it, the combined fleets of the Zeltharian Empire moved in perfect formation. Admiral, we're receiving surrender communications from the human colonies, reported his communications officer. Vextar's eyes glowed with satisfaction. As expected, read them. Sir, they're not offering surrender. They're telling yous to go home or will regret it. Vextar stared at the officer in disbelief. They're threatening us? With what? Their toy ships? Before the officer could answer, the tactical display lit up with contacts. Hundreds of small human ships emerged from behind asteroids, space stations, and even the shadows of planets. They had been hiding, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The Battle of Alpha Centauri began not with formal challenges or demands for surrender, but with a swarm of human attack craft diving straight into the alien formation like angry hornets. Captain Ben Taylor, now commanding a squadron of the new fast attack ships, led the first wave. All units, remember your training. We're faster than they are, more maneuverable. Use it. The human ships moved in patterns that seemed completely random to the Zeltharian observers. They accelerated impossibly fast, turned at angles that should have killed their crews, and attacked from directions that violated every rule of space combat. Admiral Vextar watched in growing alarm as his perfectly organized formations began to break apart. What are they doing? This isn't how space battles work. His tactical officer frantically tried to track the human ships on his displays. Sir, they're not following any recognized attack patterns. Our computers can't predict their movements. On the human flagship UE's Vanguard, Admiral Parker coordinated the chaotic battle with grim satisfaction. Kate, how are our losses? Commander Phillips checked her displays. Heavy, sir, but not as bad as predicted. The aliens are having trouble targeting our ships. Their weapons are designed for long-range combat against slow, predictable targets. The tide of battle shifted when Captain Sarah Kim, piloting one of the fastest human ships, discovered something crucial. Admiral, I've been studying their shield patterns. They're strongest at the front and rear, but weak on the sides. If we can hit them from the flanks while they're turning. Do it, Parker ordered. The human ships changed tactics instantly, swarming around the massive alien vessels like wolves, attacking a herd of buffalo. They struck at weak points, retreated before the aliens could respond, then attacked again from a different angle. But the Zeltharian ships were still incredibly powerful. For every alien vessel damaged, humanity lost 5 ships. Admiral Parker could see that his forces were running out of time. Sir, Commander Phillips said quietly, we're not going to win this fight. Parker nodded grimly. I know, but we're going to make them remember it. He opened a channel to the Eternal Dominion. Admiral Vextar's face appeared on the screen, his red eyes blazing with anger. Surrender now, human, and I will make your deaths quick, Vextar snarled. Parker smiled coldly. You want to know something about humans, Admiral? We're really bad at knowing when we're beaten. Before Vextar could respond, Parker cut the communication and turned to his bridge crew. All hands, abandon ship. Set collision course for the Eternal Dominion. Sir, you can't. Commander Phillips protested. Get to the escape pods, Kate. That's an order. Parker strapped himself into the captain's chair as his crew reluctantly evacuated. Computer, emergency acceleration. Full power. To engines. The Vanguard turned toward the massive alien flagship, its engines glowing white-hot as they pushed beyond all safety limits. Admiral Vexstar watched in horror as the human ship accelerated straight toward him. Evasive action. He screamed, but the Eternal Dominion was too large to maneuver quickly. A Vanguard struck the alien dreadnought like a missile, its hull filled with explosive materials that Admiral Parker had ordered loaded just for this moment. The explosion lit up space for millions of kilometers. When the light faded, both ships were gone. The remaining Zeltharian forces retreated in shock and confusion. They had won the battle, but at a cost they had never imagined. The loss of the Eternal Dominion and Admiral Vexstar sent shockwaves through the Empire. On Earth, the news of Admiral Parker's sacrifice was met with tears and rage in equal measure. But Dr. Chun made an important observation as she studied the battle records. The aliens retreated, she told President Carter. They had enough ships left to finish the job, but they withdrew. I think they're starting to understand what they're really fighting. Colonel Walsh nodded grimly. They're not fighting an army. They're fighting an entire species that refuses to quit. Lieutenant Rodriguez looked up from his analysis of the alien tactics. Sir, I think I see a pattern in their formations. They're very rigid, very predictable. If we could get some ships behind their lines. President Carter stood up, her face set with determination. Get me Admiral Ross. If the Zeltharians think one sacrifice will stop us, they're about to learn how wrong they are. In the depths of space, the surviving Zeltharian commanders sent frantic reports back to the Empire. These humans didn't fight like any civilized species. They used suicide attacks, impossible maneuvers, and tactics that seemed designed by madmen. For the first time in their long history of conquest, the Zeltharian Empire began to doubt whether this war could be won easily. They had encountered something they had never faced before, a species that became more dangerous the closer it came to defeat. The war was just beginning, and already the galaxy would never be the same. Emperor Zolfek's rage could be felt throughout the Imperial Palace. The loss of Admiral Vexstar and the Eternal Dominion had shaken the Empire to its core. No enemy had ever destroyed one of their great dreadnoughts, especially not with a primitive ramming attack. Bring me Grand Admiral Hex Mori, the Emperor commanded, his forearms trembling with fury. These humans must be crushed completely. I want them to serve as an example to any other species that might consider resistance. Grand Admiral Hex Mori entered the throne room with measured steps. He was the Empire's greatest military leader, a strategist who had never known defeat. His scarred face showed no emotion as he bowed before the Emperor. My lord, I have studied the human tactics. They are undisciplined and wasteful, but effective against our standard formations. I request permission to deploy the First Imperial Fleet. The Emperor's eyes widened. The First Fleet had never been used for conquest before. It was reserved for threats to the Empire itself. You believe these primitives require our most elite forces? I believe they require complete annihilation. My lord, half measures will only encourage other species to rebel. Emperor Zolfek nodded slowly. Very well. Take the First Fleet and end this human problem once and for all. On Earth, the mood was both grim and hopeful. The victory at Alpha Centauri had cost them dearly, but it had proven that humans could hurt the Empire. In research facilities around the planet, scientists worked frantically to study captured alien technology. Dr. Kevin Martinez led the team examining wreckage from destroyed Zeltharian ships. The good news is that their technology isn't magic, he told the assembled military leaders. It's advanced, but we can understand it and even copy parts of it. Admiral Karan Ross, who had taken command after Admiral Parker's sacrifice, studied the holographic displays showing alien shield generators. How long before we can build our own? 2 weeks for a prototype, maybe a month for mass production, Dr. Martinez replied. But there's something else. Their weapons are designed for long-range combat against heavily armored targets. At close range, our kinetic weapons can actually penetrate their shields. Captain Danny Clark, now promoted to lead the fast attack squadrons, grinned at this news. So we need to get in close and personal. Exactly. But there's another problem. Intelligence reports suggest they're sending their best fleet next. The first Imperial fleet has never been defeated. Meanwhile, on the colony world of New Geneva, Colonel Ashley Brooks prepared for a different kind of battle. The planet was a key mining world that supplied rare metals needed for ship construction. If it fell, humanity's ability to build new vessels would be crippled. Ma'am, civilian evacuation is 70% complete, reported Sergeant Maria Santos, her aide. But we're running out of time. Long-range sensors show a massive alien fleet approaching. Colonel Brooks looked out at the city below. New Geneva was built into the side of an active volcano, using geothermal energy to power the mining operations. The location had seemed perfect for industry, but now it might become their salvation. Cancel the evacuation, she ordered. We're going to make our stand here? Ma'am, the civilians ... We'll be safer if we win than if we run. Get me the mining engineers. I have an idea. In space, Grand Admiral Hexmoria's fleet emerged from hyperspace like a swarm of metal death. Over 3,000 ships, each one a masterpiece of Zelfarian engineering. The flagship, Imperial Glory, was even larger than the destroyed Eternal Dominion. Admiral, we're detecting human ships in the asteroid belt, reported his tactical officer. Approximately 200 vessels. Hexmori studied the tactical display. The human ships were scattered among the asteroids, using the rocks for cover. It was a defensive position, but a poor one against his overwhelming numbers. Launch fighters, clear the asteroids. I want every human ship destroyed before we proceed to their planets. Captain Danny Clark watched the approaching alien fighters from his hiding spot behind a massive asteroid. His ship, the UES Phoenix, was one of the new models equipped with captured alien shield technology. All units, this is Eagle Leader. Remember the plan. Let them come in close, then hit them with everything we've got. The alien fighters moved in perfect formation, their advanced sensors scanning each asteroid for human ships. They had never encountered an enemy that would hide among space rocks like pirates or raiders. When the human ships emerged from hiding, they did so all at once, from every direction. The aliens found themselves surrounded by fast, maneuverable craft that seemed to appear from nowhere. Captain Clark's Phoenix led the charge, its new shields protecting it from the initial alien counterattack. This is for Admiral Parker. He shouted as he fired everything he had into the alien formation. The battle among the asteroids was unlike anything the Zeltharians had ever experienced. The humans used the floating rocks as weapons, ramming asteroids into alien ships or hiding behind them to reload. When alien fighters tried to pursue, they found themselves flying through a maze of stone and metal that the humans navigated with impossible skill. Lieutenant Commander Chris Young led a daring attack on the alien command ship using the asteroids as stepping stones. His small squadron jumped from rock to rock, always staying behind cover until they were close enough to strike. Sir, the humans are using the asteroid field like a three-dimensional city, reported the Zeltharian tactical officer. Our formations are useless here. Grand Admiral Hexmori watched his perfectly organized attack dissolve into chaos. Withdraw the fighters. Prepare the main guns. We'll destroy the entire asteroid field. But as the alien fleet moved closer to use their massive weapons, Captain Clark sprang his trap. Hidden throughout the asteroid field were mines built from captured alien technology. When the Zeltharian ships entered the kill zone, the space around them erupted in explosions. Now, all ships attack pattern Gamma, Clark ordered. The remaining human ships burst from their hiding places like a pack of wolves striking at the confused alien fleet. They had studied the enemy formations and knew exactly where to hit for maximum damage. On New Geneva, Colonel Brooks watched the space battle through her command center's view screen while coordinating the planet's defense. The alien ground forces had landed despite the chaos above, and now advanced toward the city. Sergeant Santos, are the tunnels ready? Yes, ma'am. All civilians are in the deep shelters, and the mining charges are set. The Zeltharian ground forces moved with the same rigid precision as their space fleets. They advanced in perfect lines, their energy weapons cutting through human defensive positions. But they were unprepared for what happened next. Colonel Brooks triggered the mining charges, and the volcano beneath the city erupted in a controlled explosion. Lava and superheated gas poured down the mountainside, creating a river of molten rock between the aliens and the city. Ma'am, the thermal sensors show the aliens are retreating, Santos reported. Their equipment can't handle the heat. Good. Now launch phase 2. Human soldiers emerged from cooling tunnels, wearing specially designed suits that protected them from the volcanic environment. They had been training in these conditions for months, preparing for exactly this moment. The battle for New Geneva became a nightmare for the Zeltharian forces. They were fighting in an environment that seemed designed to kill them, against an enemy that thrived in conditions no civilized species could tolerate. In space, the asteroid battle was reaching its climax. Captain Clark's Phoenix dove toward the Imperial Glory, using a captured alien fighter as a shield. At the last second, he ejected from his ship and transferred to the enemy fighter, turning their own technology against them. This is insane, shouted the Zeltharian bridge officer as he watched a human pilot fly one of their own ships directly at them. Grand Admiral Hex Mori could only watch as his flagship's shields were breached by weapons that used Zeltharian technology against itself. The explosion that followed damaged his ship's main reactor, forcing a retreat. As the alien fleets pulled back to regroup, Admiral Ross received reports from across human space. The attacks had been repelled, but at tremendous cost. Yet something had changed. The humans were no longer just surviving. They were learning, adapting, and fighting back with captured alien technology. Dr. Martinez brought the most important news of all. Admiral, we've cracked their communication codes. We know where their next attack will come from, and we'll be ready. Lieutenant Rodriguez added his own discovery. Ma'am, their rigid command structure is their weakness. If we can disrupt their communications, their ships can't coordinate effectively. Admiral Ross looked around the command center at the tired but determined faces of her staff. These humans had just faced the Empire's elite forces, and not only survived, but won. Ladies and gentlemen, she said, I think it's time we stopped playing defense. In the depths of space, Grand Admiral Hex Mori sent his report to Emperor Zalthek. For the first time in his military career, he had to admit defeat. These humans were not just resistant to conquest. They were learning from every battle, growing stronger with each encounter. The Empire's greatest weapon, their technological superiority, was becoming meaningless as humans adapted alien technology to their own chaotic fighting style. Worse, the humans seemed to actively enjoy the challenge of fighting against impossible odds. The galaxy was AB. The final battle began at the edge of human space, where the dark between stars met the light of Sol. Emperor Zalthek himself had come to witness the end of the human threat, his massive command ship surrounded by the greatest fleet ever assembled. In galactic history, 10,000 Zeltharian vessels moved in perfect formation toward Earth, their hulls gleaming with the power of 1,000 conquered worlds. At their head flew the Emperor's flagship, Infinite Dominion, a ship so large it had its own gravity and atmosphere systems. Today we end this insult to imperial dignity, Emperor Zalfek declared to his assembled fleet commanders. These humans will learn that resistance to the Empire is futile. Grand Admiral Hexmori stood beside the Emperor, his face grim with the memory of recent defeats. My lord, I urge caution. These humans have proven more resourceful than expected. Resourceful? The Emperor's four arms gestured dismissively. They are vermin with stolen technology. 10,000 ships against their pitiful few hundred. This battle will be over within hours. But in the deep black of space, Admiral Karen Ross was preparing humanity's greatest gamble. Her fleet numbered only 800 ships, many of them hastily converted civilian vessels armed with whatever weapons could be mounted. Cargo haulers carried missile pods, mining ships had been fitted with railguns, and even luxury yachts now bristled with defensive systems. All ships, this is Admiral Ross, she broadcast across the fleet. Today, we're not just fighting for Earth. We're fighting for the right of every free species in the galaxy to exist without bowing to tyrants. Captain Nat Thompson sat in the pilot seat of the experimental ship UES Phoenix, the most advanced vessel humanity had ever built. Its engines were powered by technology reverse-engineered from captured alien ships, but its weapons were something entirely new. Admiral, the mass conversion system is ready, he reported. One shot is all we'll get. Make it count, Captain. The battle began when the Zeltharian fleet entered the outer solar system. Their massive ships moved like a wall of metal and energy, their weapons charging for the attack that would end human resistance forever. Admiral Ross had deployed her forces in a formation that seemed suicidal even by human standards. Instead of trying to defend Earth from a distance, she had placed her ships directly in the path of the alien fleet. All ships, execute Operation Broken Mirror, she commanded. The human fleet split apart like a broken puzzle, each ship taking a different vector toward the alien formation. To the Zeltharians, it looked like complete chaos. Ships flew in impossible directions, some diving toward the sun, while others raced toward the outer planets. What are they doing? Emperor Zalfek demanded. This isn't a battle formation. It's madness. But there was method in the madness. Each human ship carried a small device that Dr. Martinez had designed using alien technology. When activated, these devices created false sensor readings, making one ship appear to be dozens. The Zeltharian fleet found itself facing what seemed like thousands of human vessels approaching from every direction. Their advanced targeting systems, designed for orderly battles, couldn't distinguish between real ships and electronic ghosts. Captain Nicole Bennett led her fighter squadron through the alien flagship's hangar bay, her small ships diving between the massive support structures. Like birds through a forest, the aliens had never expected an enemy to attack from inside their own ship. Security teams to Hangar 7. Alien voices shouted in panic as human fighters landed inside the Infinite Dominion itself. Bennett and her pilots fought their way through corridors designed for beings twice their size, using their smaller stature and faster reflexes to outmaneuver the alien defenders. Their goal was the command center, where Emperor Zalfek coordinated the battle. Meanwhile, in space around Jupiter, Lieutenant Jack Davis led a group of civilian volunteers in converted mining ships. They had rigged their industrial equipment to create weapons that no military mind would have conceived. This is crazy enough to work, Jack muttered as he aimed his ship's mining laser at a Zeltharian cruiser. A beam, designed to cut through asteroids, sliced through the alien's armor like it was paper. Around him, cargo ships used their loading clamps to physically grab alien fighters, while passenger vessels rammed enemy ships with reinforced hulls. The Zeltharians had prepared for a military battle, not a brawl involving every human in the solar system. Back on the flagship, Emperor Zalthek watched his perfect battle plan dissolve into chaos. Human ships seemed to be everywhere, using tactics that violated every principle of civilized warfare. "Sir, they're inside the ship," reported his security chief. "Human soldiers are fighting deck by deck toward the command center." "Impossible. How did they penetrate our defenses?" "They flew through the hangar bay, my lord. No civilized species would attempt such a suicidal attack." The Emperor's red eyes blazed with fury and fear. These humans weren't fighting like warriors. They were fighting like cornered animals, using every possible advantage, no matter how desperate or dangerous. The climax came when Captain Thompson's Phoenix broke through the alien formations, its experimental weapon charging for the one shot that would decide the battle. The mass conversion system would transform the ship's entire hull into directed energy, destroying both the Phoenix and whatever it hit. "Admiral, I'm locked on to the Infinite Dominion," Thompson reported. "Say the word." Admiral Ross looked around her bridge at the determined faces of her crew. Earth hung in the view screen behind them, blue and beautiful and free. Fire. The Phoenix vanished in a flash of light that could be seen from Earth's surface. When the radiance faded, the Emperor's flagship was an expanding cloud of debris, and with it died Emperor Zalthek and his dreams of eternal conquest. The remaining Zeltharian fleet, leaderless and demoralized, began to retreat. Grand Admiral Hex Mori, now the senior commander, sent one final transmission to Admiral Ross. "You fight like demons," he said, his voice filled with a mixture of respect and horror. "No civilized species should be capable of such warfare." Ross's reply was simple. "Then maybe you shouldn't have tried to conquer us." As the alien fleet fled toward the edge of the solar system, a new transmission reached Earth. It came from the same void between stars, where the original warning had originated months earlier. Elder Zephthal's ancient face appeared on Admiral Ross's screen, his eyes holding the wisdom of eons. "Greetings, children of Earth. We are the Keepers, and we have watched your struggle with great interest." "You sent the warning to the Empire," Ross realized. "We did. We have sent such warnings 46 times before. You are the first species to survive them." The implications of his words hit Ross like a physical blow. "You mean there were other species like us?" "There were many species with potential. The Zeltharian Empire destroyed them all. They never listened to our warnings because they believed superior technology guaranteed victory. They never understood that the greatest weapon is the refusal to surrender." Elder Zephthul's image flickered as his ancient transmission equipment struggled to maintain the connection. "We offer you a place among the guardian species, those civilizations strong enough to protect the younger races. The galaxy needs defenders against empires, like the Zeltharians." Admiral Ross looked out at the stars, where the retreating alien fleet was posting warning beacons around human space. The messages all said the same thing: danger, human space, do not engage. "We accept," she said simply. In the weeks that followed, the Zeltharian Empire underwent massive changes. The loss of their emperor and their greatest fleet sent shockwaves throughout their territory. Rebellions broke out on a dozen worlds as conquered species realized the Empire was not invincible. The Empire's new leaders issued a formal decree that human space was to be avoided at all costs. They established a buffer zone around Earth's territory and forbade any Imperial ship from entering it without explicit permission from the High Council, Dr. Foster. Studying the aftermath, made a crucial observation. The galaxy was held in balance by fear, she told President Carter. The Empire kept order by convincing everyone they were unbeatable. We broke that illusion. President Carter nodded, looking out at the stars that no longer seemed so threatening. So what happens now? Now we help other species find their courage. The Keepers were right. The galaxy needs guardians. And humans, it turns out, are very good at standing up to bullies. In the depths of space, the Keeper ship continued its eternal journey. Elder Zefthal smiled for the first time in centuries, as he recorded a new entry in the Galactic Archives. Species, human, status, Guardian approved. Notes: do not underestimate their capacity for survival. When cornered, they become most dangerous. They have achieved the impossible, defeating the Zeltharian Empire through pure determination and refusal to accept defeat. The galaxy is safer with them as protectors. The message was sent across the cosmos to every intelligent species, carrying a new warning that would echo through the stars for millennia to come. Humanity stands ready. Those who threaten the innocent will face the wrath of the species that does not know how to quit. The war was over, but humanity's greatest adventure was just beginning.